Hi guys, my name is Chris and you're watching Wrestling News, so let's start with. The 2023 edition of Survivor Series was the best of all time's WWE Survivor Series. WarGames 2023 provided plenty of thrilling action from start to finish on Saturday night. What was not expected was the return of former WWE and AEW champion CM Punk to close the show. Let's recap the show. We started the show with the women's WarGame match. Damage Control Sky, Asuka, Bayley and Kairi Sane vs Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Shotzi in a WarGames match. Lynch and Bayley started the match for their respective teams, getting things going with a bit of brawling before Bayley was able to toss Lynch into the cage. Bayley into the cage with a series of drop kicks. Lynch locked in to disarm her, but Dakota Kai poked her with a kendo stick through the cage. Shotzi entered the match. Shotzi threw a trash can and several chairs into the ring before taking the fight to Bayley. Sky was the next woman in, bringing a chain to the ring to attack her opponents. Belair entered the match. Belair didn't bring any extra weapons, instead whipping Sky and Bayley with her double braids. New entrant joined the fray, with Sane up next for Damage Control and Flair as the final entrant for her team. The match really picked up in speed and intensity late, and it worked to build to a solid finish that saw Bayley work as her team's MVP despite seemingly being on the outs among her team while still eating the pin. Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair and Shotzi defeated Damage Control via pinfall. The next match was the crowd was absolutely behind The Miz on Saturday night. Part of that could be because the fans want to eventually see the A-lister get his moment in the sun. Part of it could be that Gunther is so good at the villain role, it's easy to cheer whoever he's facing. Gunther predictably won the match, but he also learned a valuable lesson. The Miz is willing to fight and is tougher than the ring general assumed. The Miz was also willing to do anything to win. Enduring a low blow and a close call with a skull-crushing finale, Gunther was too powerful and too resilient to go down. He locked in a half Boston Crab and the Miz tapped. Winner Gunther. The third match was Dragon Lee wanted Escobar in the ring after Santos took out Carlito on SmackDown this week. With revenge on his mind, he failed to get it. This was a strong match, but the right person won as WWE is trying to build Santos Escobar into a top-level heel, and losing to Lee at this point in the storyline arc wouldn't have made sense. As expected, these two had excellent chemistry in the ring, but this match wasn't incredibly long. Lee was mounting a great deal of offense when Escobar hit two big moves and a driver for the clean win. Winner Santos Escobar. The fourth match was Zoe Stark won over a few fans on Saturday with the fight she brought to the women's champion Rhea Ripley, but it wasn't enough as Ripley hit the Riptide for the win. The outcome was predictable, a theme on the evening, but this was a decent match. It was more of a brawl that stayed in the ring than a wrestling match, as the two women just tried to beat the tar out of each other. Ripley remains the dominant champion and Stark will go back in line, hoping to win another shot in the future. Winner Rhea Ripley. The final match was Finn Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough vs Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Jay and Sami Zayn in the WarGames match. Rollins and Finn started things off for their teams. Rollins fired Finn into the cage several times, knowing he would be at a disadvantage. 5 minutes later, Finn was quick to return the favor, sending Rollins into the cage. McDonough was the first man out of the cage, though he was kicked by Rollins before he could enter the cage. McDonough grabbed a pair of kendo sticks before getting into the cage, and he and Finn started to wear Rollins out. Jay was in for his team next, taking the heat off Rollins, who had been brutalized by Finn and McDonough. McIntyre watched on, desperately wanting to get to the ring. Time came, Priest stopped him and said they were sticking to the plan before walking to the cage. Priest went head-to-head with Jay and Rollins before pulling out a baton and using it to attack both men and take over. Zayn made his entrance, hitting McDonough with a kendo stick and ramming the cage door into Finn's head. Zayn then grabbed a table before getting in the ring and taking out Priest. McIntyre finally making his way to the cage, not stopping for any weapons, just wanting to get into the fight. McIntyre blitzed through Rollins and Zayn so he could get to Jay, who was still down from earlier in the match. McIntyre drove Jay into the cage over and over. Rhodes made his way to the cage. After the standard opening run of offense, Rhodes brought a bull rope into the cage before he and Rollins used the rope to attack. After the Judgment Day team got back involved, Priest and McIntyre choke-slammed Rhodes, Zayn, and Rollins. Rhea Ripley's music hit and she ran to the ring with the Money in the Bank contract, ready for Priest to cash in, but before that could happen, Orton's music hit and he made his way to the ring, officially starting the match. Orton hit Mysterio with a RKO. McDonough tried to flee the cage but was trapped on top of the cage by Zayn and Rollins, who looked down at Orton and launched him from the cage into an RKO. Rhodes dropped Priest with Crossroads, and that was all she wrote. Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Jay and Sami Zayn defeated Finn, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough via pinfall. Following the conclusion of the main event, the crowd exploded when his music hit and Punk made his way to the entrance ramp. Punk posed and celebrated with the crowd as the show went off the air. Did you guys love the show? Thanks guys for watching, and please subscribe to my channel.